There are a lot of challenges in deploying AI in real business transformation that has nothing to do with AI.
We're a unified platform for both human and AI agents, and contact centers, the customer experience right now is undergoing a pretty radical transformation.
Contact center customers don't have a roadmap to follow for AI implementation, and it's so overwhelming to them because they don't even know where to start.
What if you can tell your website, I want to do XYZ, and the website moves by itself?
You are going to be a super agent powered by Cresta.
The way Cresta leverages AI, it's more about reducing agent burnout than reducing agent headcount.
AI really take away the more mundane type of task, while human focusing on establishing, being emotionally available.
Sorry, one quick thing. You dropped a little bit of a news bomb. CX Foundation listeners, you heard it here first.
Sorry, I've been dropping that all day today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katherine Stone from the CX Foundation, and we are absolutely thrilled today to be here speaking with Russell Banzon, the CMO of Cresta, and we're delighted to be joined by Ping Wu, the CEO of Cresta as well. So if you've never heard of Cresta before, you don't know what it is, sit tight. All will be revealed. Keep watching.
Just by way of introduction, my name is Russell Banzon. I'm the CMO over at Cresta. I've been with the business now for about 1.5 years, but I've been in the space for actually quite a while. I've been in AI and contact center software for the better part of the last decade. So excited to be here, excited for today's conversation. And Ping.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ping Wu. I'm the CEO of Cresta. And I'm also in this area for quite a while. I previously worked and founded a Google Contact Center AI platform. That's 8 years ago. And then 4 years ago, I joined Cresta to lead engineering and product. And then 2.5 years ago, I became the CEO. And in layman's term, Cresta is AI that's a single AI that help everyone in the contact center and make their job more efficient and more productive, as well as introduce automation to help customers and the callers who call into the contact center be able to resolve their questions or issues quickly with just AI agents. And so we've been in business for 8 years. And so far, we raised around $280 million and very fortunate to work with some of the leading organizations in the world. We have done more than 300 contact center deployments. Some of those AI deployments are into contact center with tens of thousands of human agents across 3 different continents. So yes, we're very excited about the future.
Thank you so much, and thank you both for being here today. So first, I'd love to start by highlighting this wonderful Forrester Wave report that just came out that named Cresta not only as a leader in the AI and contact center customer experience space, but also as a force to be reckoned with. And I think from Forrester, that's pretty high praise. They're not used to really doling out compliments like that. And something that the report really emphasized was the long-term strategic partnership that Cresta forms with its clients and customers. And I wondered if you could speak about what that partnership looks like, especially as we move through different phases of AI deployment and how you support your customers through all of that experience.
Yeah, happy to jump in. So I think the thing that makes Cresta unique is that, and Ping talked a lot about this a little bit earlier, is that we're a unified platform for both human and AI agents. And contact centers, the customer experience right now is undergoing a pretty radical transformation. And there's people that are on a pretty far spectrum of that transformation journey. Some people today, one of our customers is, a Fortune 10 healthcare provider. They still have thousands and thousands of agents, and they're just getting started on their AI transformation journey. While there's other folks that are fully all in, and they're like, hey, we're already doing agent assistance, human augmentation. We want to do the full thing, and we want to go into full automation. And the beauty about Cresta is that we can jump in to help them no matter where they're at on that spectrum, right? Some folks might want to start with something basic like, hey, let's reduce after call work for an agent and make their lives a little bit more efficient and more effective. And so we'll jump in and we'll provide real-time transcription, we'll provide auto summarization. So that way, when they wrap up a conversation, automatically they'll just have everything done and they can move on into the next conversation without having to worry about typing up everything that just happened. And again, some other folks we're doing the full spectrum with. So we can be a partner throughout the entirety of their AI transformation journey, and we'll help them start wherever they want to start. And then we'll be their partner over the course, hopefully, of the next couple of decades.
Beautiful.
I do think that's one thing that's very unique about AI products from the traditional SaaS software is that it's not like a check a box and then you buy this piece of software and then you don't need to take care of it. But AI is something that it's keep on transforming. It's keep on improving. You have to coach it, you have to set it up, and you have to naturally transform your workflows. And then because AI is providing intelligence, and then that naturally touched the workflows that traditionally done by humans, right? Like call centers and the things that they not have to have a human involved. So that's why it's more closer partnership. It's constantly holding our customer hands and working together with them and to maximize the impact of the AI software that we're building. And the second thing that I would say that just as Russell said, our goal is really to meet customer where they are. What's unique about Cresta is we're a really comprehensive platform. We're not just, whenever people talk about contact center AI, they naturally think about AI automation. It's chatbot or voice bot. But for us, it's a unified platform for automation as well as augmentation for every single role in the contact center, including human agents, supervisors, QA teams, and all that. So because our breadth, our products, so we can help any use case in the contact center today. And then that means different customer have different their priorities and they have their own transformation priorities. And sometimes they may not want to starting with certain products, but they want to starting with others. So we can meet our customer where they are in terms of use cases, in terms of channels. And then a third thing I would say is that we have over the years really developed very strong expertise in working with very complex multi-continental legacy software, and that you usually find in contact centers, and especially in Fortune 100 companies. And that also means that one of our customers, they are on the journey of transforming with AI, but they feel like they have to go to cloud first before they can do AI. But fortunately, we meet our customer where they are. We are able to connect with their on-premise telephony systems and on-premise software so that we can bring the value of AI today without waiting and without delaying the timeline. So from that perspective, we really see our customer as a partner.
And if I could just ask a quick follow-up question to that, since you're mentioning hybrid and talking about hybrid contact centers, do you find that most of your customers, when you're initially having these conversations, even know that hybrid is a possibility for them, or are you introducing that to them for the first time?
So yeah, that require actually some education. Some customer may not even know. They feel all AI startups feel like it's in the cloud. They have to move to all their seats to cloud before they can see any benefits, but that's not the case. And of course, cloud integration is easier from technology perspective, but we work with on-premise software very well. And then the reality is majority of current agent seats is still on-premise. So contact center is just transforming at a relatively slower pace compared to other part of enterprise software stack.
Right. And it sounds like Cresta is kind of hitting this message home that, hey, this doesn't have to be change everything you're doing overnight tomorrow. And if you don't pick it up right away, then there's something wrong with you and your agents. It sounds like you're really guiding them throughout this whole process, which I think is rare in today's contact center space. And I know that Cresta is a unified platform, but I do want to speak quickly about voice AI because I feel like in the CX space particular, we hear a lot of buzz surrounding voice AI. That's the next big thing in contact centers. But you recently wrote a wonderful article that talked about this, I guess we would call it a perception gap between AI realness, voice AI realness, it's sounding like you're talking to a real person, and then voice AI production readiness. So something that all customer experience leaders, myself included, are quite familiar with is you meet with a vendor, they show you this gorgeous, beautiful voice AI demo where it sounds like you're talking to the person right down the hall. But then when you actually try to implement it, it's not ready for prime time and it's barely even functional. So while I agree with you that, you might not want to jump to voice AI implementation just yet if it's not really ready to achieve full functionality. What is that trade-off for contact centers that are prioritizing voice AI reliability over realness? And how do you navigate that trust with your customers? How do you convince them that the reliability is always worth more than the realness?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are 3 points I'm thinking. The first one is just touching on the voice, right? So, we see a lot of advancement in traditional what we call TTS technology, that's text to speech. And with large language models, some of these TTS experience can be really human-like sounding. And we notice a trade-off. We constantly evaluate all different vendors and all different voices. There's a trade-off between the human soundingness versus the reliability in production. And then we detail in that LinkedIn post. And some of the limitation with large language model, including hallucination, also show up in some of those latest, more human-sounding voices. So there's a clear trade-off between whether the voice is reliable versus how human-like they are sounding. So I can give example. Some of the voice can be really human-sounding, but when you deploy at scale over telephone lines, they're going to missing credit card numbers. So, that's just one example. We have the voice AI agent that read back, our customer want us to confirm with the caller and whether this is your credit card number. So those alphanumerical IDs, that for alphanumerical numbers, and it's just very hard for, you will suddenly add a number or missing number. So those are the cases that you will not see in the demo, but it's super critical in production for the voice AI agent to be robust. So that's one thing. Another thing is really in general how customer being educated about evaluate AI agent, because this space is moving so quickly. A lot of things that we do today is cannot even imaginable 2-3 years ago. So let alone the customers. So overall, we feel there's a lack of educations on how to evaluate different vendors. And so they gravitate towards the easiest thing that you can hear or feel, which is whether your voice is human sounding. But there's a long list of things that will make sure will play a bigger impact, whether the voice AI agent will be robust and effective in the production. So these are the things that we actually focus on. So, the second point is really just overall the education. We feel like, the field, especially customer, when they're choosing voice AI agent vendors, I think that's a key things that they need to look into. And then the third thing is really about beyond the voice. It's voice is what you generated when you already know what to say, right? But for the voice AI agent to be to be effective, there are so many things that determines. And for example, in our voice AI agent, we really orchestrating not just one TTS model to generate the voice. That's the last step. The entire whole pipeline of noise cancellation when the call actually comes in. Maybe you're making a phone call in the subway, right? And there are what we call voice activity detection. Is then AI agent need to know when the human callers actually stop talking. So that's another AI model. And then you have to transcribe that into text. That's what we call speech transcription. That's a third model. And then you have the foundation model to do conversation management. And then there's on top of that, there are security models, that guardrail models that we're constantly checking. Again, because its voice is real time, they have to be highly efficient. And to make sure that there's no security attack, what the AI agent responded actually makes sense. There's no guardrail violation or run into things. I can give an example. There are customers that maybe don't want the AI agent to ever make promise on certain things, or may not want them to ever give tax advice, right? So these are the things that checked our smaller models, but run in parallel with the foundation models. And then the last step is actually when you're actually generate the voice. So that's just one piece of the entire very complex model orchestration layer that we're building. That's in our voice AI agent product.
Yeah, we try to educate our customers on how to evaluate, and it's no surprise, right? This technology is relatively new. Now, the broader category has been around for quite a while, but in a much more deterministic fashion. But LLM-based AI agents is still relatively new. So people are like, how the heck do I even evaluate this thing, right? So Ping called out a lot of the ways that we call out to our customers, like, hey, these are the things to think about, from guardrails to et cetera. The other thing that we'll do to help our customers is we'll try to give them a roadmap of automation. And again, one of the unique qualities of being a unified platform for human and AI agents is, for a lot of the customers that we're working with today, we're understanding all of the entirety of their customer-facing conversations. And so we can mine those conversations for insights around, hey, if you were to automate this portion of conversations, you could do it and save X amount of money, right? So we give people the roadmap, and we always encourage people to test, right? If somebody comes to us and they say, hey, we want to go full scale production, we've got X, Y, and Z goals that we got to hit by the end of next year, we're ready to do that and we can scale up pretty quickly. But we always encourage people to, like, hey, let's start with a particular use case. So that way you can build trust both with the organization, but also the customer. We talked a little bit about why this transformation is happening maybe a little bit slower than other areas in the market. It's because this thing is touching the actual customer experience, and this can be make it or break it for a lot of these businesses and a lot of these brands. And so whenever anybody's rolling things out or just getting started, we say, hey, let's go ahead and get started with a particular use case or pilot with a certain volume, and then let's go to scale as we develop trust with both your customers and obviously the organization.
That sounds fabulous. And again, I love that you're emphasizing the roadmap here, because one thing that we hear in the CX space is that contact center customers don't have a roadmap to follow for AI implementation. And it's so overwhelming to them because they don't even know where to start, because it is a newer technology to them. And there's not a clear example for them to follow. And one place that we really see their anxiety peak is around this human to AI handoff or the AI to human handoff. There's a ton of friction, and it kind of crushes the customer experience because maybe the customer didn't realize they were talking to an AI voice bot, but now suddenly they've been transferred to a real human, and the human doesn't seem to know anything that they just spent 5 minutes telling the voice bot, and so they've got to repeat themselves. We all know it's a disaster. Long story short, disastrous for customer experience. So how does Cresta guide its customers through nailing that seamless, frictionless AI to human handoff? And what problems do you see customers really overlooking in that regard?
Yeah, so maybe I can take the first step. So this is the key issue, the human to AI or AI to human transfer. And then from our view, the way we think about it is really unify workforce. It's AI and human, they're interoperable. And one thing that we want to preserve the context, and it seems like that's the biggest issue, not only just AI to human transfer, but also human to human transfer that we all run into. We have to authenticate ourselves multiple times and describe the pain again and again. Sometimes I have to, on one call, I have to describe my issue 5 times and to 5 different humans. And that's what we see the benefit of have AI, one single AI to really handle, to see the context from the AI agent and the agent assistant or the AI assistant to humans, so that when the call actually get connected, we immediately give the summary on what actually already been done, what's the context of the call, so that the human agent do not need to go through all that, just need to confirm that immediately, not only saving time, but also just a better customer experience. And then the second thing is what we think about is something called warm transfer. It's less about probably less in the customer support, but more in the sales situation, where the AI agent will pick up the phone for some of the leads and does some qualification questions, but will stay on the phone and then letting the human caller know that they're being transferred to human agents. And then on the phone, do not hang up until the human agent get connected, and then the AI agent will explain the situation to the human agents. And that to make sure that there's no drop off in the funnel, the conversion for sales conversions. And then the third thing I'm thinking about is really in the future, there should not be strictly AI to human transfer. There should be opportunity for human to transfer to AI as well. And And then that may not be stay with the same modality. It's maybe, the human, when it goes through a certain part of the conversation, can hand off to the AI agent. Either it can be the voice stay on the phone, or through the website, through a chat that can complete the rest of the workflow, but preserving the context as well. So we just foresee the future where this is really a unified workforce, and the AI and the human, and how do you maximize it to maximize the productivity and then optimize the customer experience.
And across channels, omni-channel as well.
Channel as well, yeah.
Not just the frictionless human to AI, AI to human transfer, but also from a digital channel to voice. You want to switch between email to, I don't know, text message, and you want to make sure that none of that information is changed and that everybody is working off
100%
the same information.
Yeah.
Did you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah. On the transfers, the other thing that I've seen come up with a topic for a lot of our customers is how transparent do we get that this is an AI agent, right? Especially when it comes to doing transfers, like you can get a little bit confused alongside that customer journey. And ultimately, it's up to each of our customers to decide what they are comfortable with. But we always tell people that it's totally fine to be transparent. Like, hey, this is, one of our customers is Brings Home Security, and they're like, hey, this is VerdiV, your AI agent that's going to help you on this path to solving whatever problems that you got. And then whenever they do a transfer, they're like, oh, let me go get a teammate. And then they actually do the transfer, and they know that they've gone from an AI agent to a human agent in that transfer.
I think that's so important because we've seen all these studies have come out that humans don't actually mind. Customers really don't mind talking to an AI agent. In fact, a lot of the time they would prefer it. What they do mind is not being told. So I think just being upfront, transparent. Hi, I'm a robot. If you'd like to speak to a human, we can do that for you. But for now, let's get the busy work out of the way. So I think that's very commendable. And it's great that you're pushing that on to clients as well. But now I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about, okay, you all know what I'm going to ask. I call it the elephant in the room. It's that MIT study that I have a lot of questions about the veracity and the accuracy of, but that's a whole nother video. But there is an MIT study that we see making the rounds in the contact center and customer experience space related to AI, is that 95% of AI projects do not make it to deployment. And I wondered, one, if you see that statistic as accurate in Cresta's experience with your customers. And then two, what do you think, even if it's not 95%, which it's not, what do you think is causing those roadblocks? And what are customers and contact center leaders missing that is making it so difficult to make their dreams a reality when it comes to transformation via AI?
Yeah, it's interesting. We looked at our data after the MIT study came out, because I actually hadn't looked at the statistics, but nearly all of our pilots actually succeed and kind of like go to full production scale. I think some of that is we're really intentional about working with our customers, as we've talked about earlier, around the use cases that we're going to go and deploy. And we're going to work with customers that we feel really excited and feel like we're going to be able to drive mutual success on a particular use case. And so we get really strong use case alignment up front. The second thing is with Cresta, you also get pretty much a white glove experience from end to end. We're working with you every single step of the way, whether that's building an AI agent from end to end, or that's deploying human augmentation, co-pilot functionality, agent assist functionality. We're there with you every single step of the way to make sure that this thing doesn't go awry. But I think generally speaking, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in these types of pilots. Like there are some customers actually that'll come to us after and say, hey, like we actually tried doing this thing internally. We tried building an AI agent internally, but they found that either maybe the latency was too long after they started to connect different systems together or connect different models together, or they found that getting the right knowledge infrastructure was really difficult for them to go and deploy this type of solution. And so there is a pretty long tail of things that could go wrong from across internal expertise to technical challenges and et cetera. It's definitely not an easy problem to solve. That's why we always encourage people to work with folks who have been doing this for a good amount of time, that have deep experience in contact center software, in AI, and go to sleep thinking about this problem and wake up thinking about this problem as well, because AI is changing so rapidly. But what would you add, Ping?
Right. I think the 95%, yeah, so I 100% agree with what Russell said. And then from our own experience, our NRR, so our net revenue retention is 140% more than that. And that means that a lot of customers actually expand their spend with us and to do more transformation in their contact center. So for the 95%, that statistics, one thing I noticed is that it's not just contact center. So those are general Gen AI use cases. And I think that probably suffer from one or two things. And one thing is I feel like there's overhype on the AI capabilities and from the demos, so that people may actually think about things that AI may not be ready today. And that's how they start a project. And the second is maybe the metrics, the success metrics may not be aligned upfront. So I think that's on the things that's hard to measure the outcome. So for contact center, we're fairly lucky in the area that many of our projects are tied to hard metrics. So if you look at the sales contact center, it has to do with the revenue conversion, whether you improve the revenue conversion per conversation, right? And then for customer support contact center, if it's an AI agent automation, it's tied to the containment rate, deflection rate. If it's augmenting humans, for example, take away the note-taking activities, that's reduce 1 minute every call, and that directly can translate into savings. Right, and then or things like automating your QA or augmenting your entire QA team. Previously, you only do 1 or 2% of the QA because it's the manual and it's not real time. And then with AI automated QA, you can do 100%, and then you can get the results very quickly back. And then we see customers that really increase their span of control, so that one supervisor previously can only manage maybe 6 or 8 agents. Now they can double that. So all these are, I feel fortunate, just tied to the type of work that we do, and it's more measurable. And then last thing I want to say is that there are a lot of challenges in deploying AI in real business transformation that has nothing to do with AI. So the challenges, just as we mentioned about, and then these are things you never see in the demos, because once you actually open up a contact center and IT stack, it's very, very complicated. Where you get the audio, where you get the voice in, where you get the knowledge base, a lot of times out of date, and where you transform, involve the change management with the supervisor agent and buy-in, and how do you train them to use the AI generate summaries, and how do you generate a summary in real time so the agent doesn't have to wait till the end of call and to wait for the summary, because otherwise they're not comfortable whether the key information will be captured. So all these tiny little things that add up to determine the success or failure of those pilots.
I think you've given us so much to work with. First of all, thank you for calling out the overhype of AI, because that's inarguably true. And I think another thing that I see a lot, at least from the CX Foundation's point of view, is just and we've touched on it here already, this lack of education, but around AI adoption and even just AI capabilities and features, but particularly it's stark among leadership. So if the person steering the business doesn't even really know how AI works or what it can do or how they should leverage it, then the rest of the company is not going to see those benefits as well. And you brought up change management. Can you speak more about what you perceive to be the fundamentals of a solid change management strategy for leadership, and then how they would communicate that to agents, the people on the front line actually using the AI software?
Yeah, maybe I can take a first step. And the approach that we take, first of all, it's really the UX principle, is that we want AI not to be a separate thing. It's not a separate app, but rather just naturally embedded into the current workflow. So think about email and think about chat. They already work with the existing interface. So we throw an integration methodology that we can infuse AI naturally into their workflow. Things like autocomplete, type ahead, and things like auto suggestions and automatically suggesting a draft. Those just naturally show up in their existing interfaces. So that these are things that they're already familiar with from the consumer-facing application like Gmail. So they do not need to be educated. I think that's goal number one. So in other things like QA or insights and all these other things that we do, we also try to be naturally and make the UX as straightforward as possible. But for things that does require change management, things like you have to involve the agents to change their behaviors. So that's why we work very closely with supervisors and managers. And that's what we call take the white glove partnership approach, that we constantly getting their feedback and then show them things that works and doesn't work. So that's why we take a more consultative approach and to work closely with them. And then I think one benefit that we have is that all these our products can track the usage, so we can tell them what specific things that we can help you, and then what are very surgical behavior change that you can help to your agents to adopt. So I think that's the current approach.
Increasingly, when I'm having a customer experience interaction, maybe I need support, whatever, I find that I rely on human agents now more for emotional support because of everything. AI can take care of the business side. AI can take care of the technical stuff. It can collect my account number, verify my identity. But it can't necessarily respond to my frustration about an incorrect thing or a late shipment. And so I wondered, do you see agent upskilling related to, as you mentioned, creative problem solving, maybe empathy, active listening, and what would that look like in a contact center in terms of reskilling your agents? How would you practice that? And is Cresta able to help agents train and kind of prepare for this new era of customer service where they're in partnership? I think Ethan Molly calls it co-intelligence, right? It's an intelligence between AI and humans, and you're all working together. So how do you create that partnership and prepare agents for that partnership?
Right. We really want to see a future where the human agent provide the emotion value to the customer. So it's all naturally, it's through millions of years of evolution. It's, we're social animals. And when we call in and we want to speak to a business, it's just, we have emotion need. I feel there's a big difference between self-driving car automation versus a contact center automation. Self-driving car, I think majority of the people will prefer a private space. And but I think for contact center, it depends. There are certain type of interactions. I feel a majority of people actually want to do it self-serve, and hopefully that can get the problem out of the way. But there are situations where the emotion value is very high, and those we call it high emotion value interactions. That's the critical moment for business to establish that trust relationship with the customer, with the consumers. And then in those situations, consumers, as long as consumers stay human, and I do think that we actually prefer to another humans, and to relate, to speak over the phone, and to do complex troubleshootings. And then the way we envision for that future is that AI really take away the more repetitive, more mundane type of task, like data entry, like taking summaries, like lookup knowledge base, or logging to different systems, while human focusing on establishing, being emotionally available to the customer. And that's the future that we're building with what we call agent assistant, but it's really a kind of like AI agent, but just be very quiet. It's a quiet AI agent. Unlike other co-pilots, it's a very special type of assistant. First of all, it doesn't speak, it doesn't say anything, right? But it's very proactive. It's very proactive. You think about ChatGPT as one type of co-pilot. It does not take action until spoken to, right? You have to prompt it and before it actually can respond to you. But for call center agent, as you know, they're already very busy and they are interacting in the synchronous communication with another human on the phone that's actually may not be in a very patient mode. So they want the AI agent to know the context automatically, and that's how our Agent Assist does, is that you wake up when the conversation started and then you already get all the context during the conversation, and then listen to the call and then take actions on the human agent behalf. Is either like Google Maps to provide you behavior guidance, or retrieve knowledge in real time or just automate away and those repetitive work. And all these things are done proactively, so without the human agent interference. So that's how we kind of free them up and then to make sure that they're really emotional available to the customer.
Yeah, it's funny. We brought about 20 of our customers to our customer advisory board and meeting in Chicago. And we were sharing this vision of a proactive agent assist. And one of our customers put it really, really well. They're like, Ping, Russell, you're introducing a world of a contact center without mice and keyboards. And I was like, yeah, that's actually a phenomenal way to put it, because we're getting rid of all of the drudgery of the contact center work such that they're just focused on the conversation, right? And yes, we can even do things like prompt in the conversation when we track sentiment as one of the things that we track. We can prompt to the agent, hey, it sounds like this customer is really frustrated. Like, make sure that you respond with empathy, and maybe here's a hint around that. But ultimately, the crux of it is like, let's just get people really focused in on the human conversation. The other thing that I'll add too, and we were talking about this like relationship between AI and humans and everybody being a unified workforce. There are some things when it comes to emotion that AI agents also are really, really good at. I was super shocked listening to one conversation as we were doing QA for one of our customers' AI agents. There was an elderly couple that called in and they were looking for some troubleshooting help. And they repeated to the AI agent to repeat the instructions of how to solve this troubleshooting step probably 15 times over. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but if somebody asked me to repeat the same thing 15 times, I'd probably get a little bit annoyed.
Right.
And in this case, the AI agent was just happily repeating it over and over and over again. And so in some cases, the AI agent can be really helpful on the emotion side of things. But yes, we imagine a world where we're creating fully emotionally available agents so they can do, again, the higher level work that they're meant to do.
That's fascinating. And by the way, the elderly couple was just me. Like, I need AI instructions repeated 15 times at least. So same with my contact center stuff. So I appreciate the AI agent's patience. I do want to talk about something that is becoming a bigger conversation now, in my opinion, finally, is this concept of ethical AI. So usually the first things that I'll do when I go to any new contact center provider's website that uses AI to optimize operations is I will look at their responsible AI practices, their ethical AI guidelines, and look at what sort of guardrails that you have in place. And you've talked about the human in the loop approach when it comes to customer service. And I wondered if you could also discuss Cresta's human in the loop approach to AI ethics and security. I know you all have PII reduction, things like that. You have guardrails in place, but how do you make sure that customers understand where their data is going, how long it's being stored, what it's being used for, and how do you see your responsible AI practices helping to improve consumer trust, particularly around AI and sensitive personal information?
I think that the core of it is really a couple of things. I think one is we talked a little bit about transparency and the importance of transparency, both to the end customer and to our customers, right? Some folks have requirements around data residency that we will just work with them on, right? Like, there's some folks that are super comfortable with the way that we've gone about deployments at scale. There's some financial services customers that say like, hey, I need to do a private cloud, right? And we'll work with them on those types of things. So we're super transparent with our customers. We get really clear as we're talking about our data residency, our master services agreements around who owns the data, and ultimately the customer owns the data. Like, right, we're not going to lock them away and be a closed system, right? Like, there's a lot in the news right now around companies saying, hey, like, we're not going to give you access to the data to do whatever you want with it. Like, we're going to be really, really open about where the data goes, right? So transparency is ultimately the first one. The second thing is about keeping humans in the loop pretty much every step of the way. And no matter what your product is that you're deploying with Cresta, we're pretty much going to give human in the loop, ability, right? If that is our knowledge assistance functionality, where we'll summarize, what we found in the knowledge base to answer a question for that the customer asked in real time. Like, we're going to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the agent to say, hey, was this a good answer or was this a bad answer, right? Mm-hmm. As you're going to build different intents inside of Cresta, we're going to give you a score and be really transparent. Here's a couple of the examples that show up when we're trying to track the intent that we've built so far. Do you agree with this? Is this the actual thing that you're intending to go and find? For our AI Analyst functionality, which is kind of like a deep research agent for your customer-facing conversations, we show turn by turn what actually happened. How did the AI agent or the AI Analyst actually think about analyzing the corpus of conversations that you're trying to analyze? And so we're really, really transparent. And so I think that's ultimately the crux of it, is one, be transparent with the end customer and your customer. The second is to keep humans in the loop kind of every step of the way, to make sure they're clear about the guardrails in place, the intents that are in place, et cetera. And then to be really open around working with whatever environment the customer ultimately needs. At least that's our philosophy.
You all could talk about what Cresta offers in terms of agent performance monitoring, maybe live coaching, aside from just what back in the day we would call call whisper, where you'd have your boss, the call center manager, coaching the agent through this conversation, but the customer couldn't hear it. So how do Cresta's performance management and monitoring features help improve the employee experience and by extension, the customer experience?
Yeah, so we do that in real time, by the way. And we know the historical approach is not scalable. And then that's how the company started, is based on the key insight that there are always opportunity. If a supervisor, experienced agent sitting next to a junior agent, there are always opportunity, almost in every single turn, that you want them to behave in certain ways, and the more senior agent or expert agent will handle a little differently. But the challenge is really, and the scarcity challenge, you cannot have a senior agent or supervisor sitting next to every agent and for every turn. So that's how the AI piece come in. So we provide real-time coaching that requires that the AI understanding and actually what's happening in the conversation, and then codify all the good behaviors you want your agents to do, and at the massive scale, thousands or maybe tens of thousands of agents, and then that AI can provide abundance that can be just as AI coach to sit next to the human agent to give them in the moment coaching. And that's really effective in the sense that it's also shortened the training cycle. We noticed that one benefit that's actually a little surprising is that the ramp up time for a lot of the junior agents shortened drastically by adopting the agent assistant, the behavior coaching piece we call at Cresta.
Companies that use AI like Cresta have a consistently higher ESAT score, employee satisfaction score, so much so that some of our customers have actually used that as a recruiting tool. It's actually really funny. They're like, we use Cresta. This is why you should want to work here, because you are going to be a super agent powered by Cresta. You're going to get super coaching powered by Cresta through your supervisors. And it's helped them garner kind of more folks into the business, which is great, given how high agent turnover tends to be in the contact center.
One of the highest. And I like what you said about improving the employee experience and focusing on boosting that ESAT score, because customer experience has taken such a center stage position right now that I kind of feel like employee experience has almost taken a backseat, and that's not a long-term success strategy. And earlier we spoke about there's a lot of anxiety fed on by the coverage surrounding AI, that it's taking jobs, particularly that it's taking entry-level positions away. And a lot of people in the customer experience industry say that the true mark of a leader will be to find ways using AI to create new foot in the door positions and to upskill current employees to allow them to rise in the ranks so that their position isn't being automated away. They're improving their performance. They're enjoying their job more. And so it sounds like Cresta is really focused on that employee experience. So very positive.
Absolutely. And It's so interesting. Like contact center work can be really, really difficult. I went to go visit one of our customers in Mexico not long ago, and I listened to a 45-minute conversation. And I would say like the mastery work from that agent probably happened in the first 5 minutes. It was a sales contact center. And they did some pretty brilliant things, doing some objection handling and ultimately driving towards a sale. And then the remaining like 40 minutes of the conversation was them being like, hey, can you give me this piece of information? Let me type that into the computer. Can you give me this piece of information? Let me type that into the computer, right? And so people aren't actually like enjoying that part as much. I think they're really enjoying like the complex strategic stuff. So yeah, hopefully with the advancement of AI and further driving automation, people will find more joy in the day-to-day work because it becomes a whole heck of a lot more interesting. I think people make a lot of analogies to with regards to the advent of AI to when tractors were born for farm work, right? Like, I think, people probably enjoy riding around in the tractor a lot more and collecting all of the grapes as opposed to stopping by every single tree and, picking every single grape, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think in the long term, we will have new jobs like we always do over the last few hundred years. And I do think that in the short term, the job displacement is a little overhyped, frankly. And I'm pretty connected with a lot of BPOs and a lot of CCaaS providers. And from their perspective, it seems pretty consistently, and the voice and the call center seats overall haven't seen significant or considerable shrinkage. I think it's more flat. And the reality I found is that of course, their technology transformation take a while. That's one piece. So another piece is really when we think about AI, is AI will provide more abundance. And the reality is today, the call centers, we want to do more than we have expert human agents. The number of expert human agents available. So I'm not sure if you're aware, the average attrition rate for contact center is more than 50%. So in reality, it's just there's not enough human agents out there. And not mentioning there are peak seasons where Black Friday or tax filing seasons, Medicare enrollment seasons, you will just have a huge demand of human agents for that 1 week. Right, and then that's just simply not available there. So what we really expect in the short term is that AI agent will fill that gap, and to allow existing contact center workforce to do a lot more, and versus from a zero-sum perspective, unnecessarily displace human jobs.
So it sounds like you're saying that the way Cresta leverages AI, it's more about reducing agent burnout than reducing agent headcount.
Right, exactly. And we do think that the transition will be gradual. And then sometime you will have a certain percentage of call can be automated, and that will fluctuate over time. If you deployed our system end to end, helping human agent with augmentation and also automating with the AI agents, they learn from each other. AI can help humans, but also they look at the human output, how human resolve issues, how customer call in, what's the reason to call in. They can learn and improve the AI agents. So gradually, we will see more and more automation, but not necessarily at the expense of reducing the number of human headcounts.
So I know that we've spoken already a little bit about Cresta's AI Agent Assist, which is really called Cresta's Behavioral Guidance. And something that I see emphasized over and over on Cresta's website and in your materials is that it's not just traditional old school next best action AI assist. So can you talk about how the behavioral guidance tool works, the sort of things that it can provide, and how it can drive, you've used this word a lot, business outcomes in any customer service interaction or conversation?
One thing that I'll call out is that Agent Assist for us is actually like an amalgamation of a couple of different things. Behavioral guidance is one of those things, and I'll get a little bit into what makes ours a little bit different than many others in the market and why Forrester called us a force to be reckoned with in this category. But it's also things like typing efficiency, right? Like behavioral guidance gets into giving agents, hints or checklists and really guiding them on the behaviors, right? But there's also things like typing efficiency. If you're a chat or an email agent, being able to complete your sentences for you or full on draft, complete emails for you as well, right? There's things like knowledge assistance, being able to surface the right knowledge in real time. So Agent Assist for us is kind of a suite of a couple of different kind of sub-products. But getting into behavioral guidance, one of the things that makes ours a little bit different than many others on the market is that we're much more focused on the intent behind a series of words in a conversation, right? And so some other things that do next best action will really be keyword based and focus in on, okay, when the customer says, I won't pay you any money, they're looking for, well, I won't pay you any money, right? But like money, I could be talking about money, dollars, cents. I could be talking about a particular currency. I could be talking about the dough. I don't know. There's a number of different ways that you could say, like, I don't want to pay you any money, and ultimately mean the same thing. And so with Cresta, like, we're actually looking at, like, what is the actual intent of a series of words, and like, what is the context of that conversation? And we use AI to be able to detect those things and then give the agent the right, again, just guidance on how to tackle that particular challenge, objection, or step of the conversation that many others will oftentimes miss.
So 100% what Russell said. I think that just to emphasize the agent assist piece, I think the market really think about it as behavior guidance. But from our perspective, agent assist is way more than that. It's a additional AI intelligence that helping human to be superhumans. The way we think about it is that everything that human does and the input and output of humans, we want to magnify that. We want to amplify that. We want to make sure that they can have superhuman capabilities. And just give you a few examples. A normal human can only type this many keystrokes in a given period of time, but AI agents can, the agent assistant can automatically generate the entire thing, right, for emails, right? And then, based on your typing, you can produce the next words. And these are the things that just can allow agents, human agents, to finish sentences, to type in the speed that's normally human not possible to do. And another thing that's, it's on our roadmap that we're going to roll out is that because the agent assist is on the device, right, on the human desktop, what it does is it's in the middle of the conversation, so it can allow you to speak another language that you don't speak. So you can real time, now the capabilities are already there to translate, so that a Korean grandma that call in for health insurance, by regulation, you need to provide that service in that language. But the reality is you only receive 1 or 2 calls per week from that particular language. So it does not make sense for a lot of call centers to staff that, to support that kind of language. So you have third-party services that will dynamically join on demand. So that will double the call length, and then that will just introduce a lot of latency. And then AI can do that 100%. So that's an example of how do you make sure that, give agents a superpower to speak another language. And then another piece that just emphasizes what Russell just mentioned is that because we see all the conversation in the contact center, we know the outcome, especially for sales, we can discover behavior that the supervisor may not even realize. Why my top performers are performing, sell a lot more than the average or the bottom performers. And these are the things that they just don't know, right? They may not even follow your playbook. And then by giving 100% visibility, and now we use AI to kind of back testing different behaviors, what we call is Moneyball for call center sales. And you can discover those behavior. And then through Cresta, the platform called Opera, you can turn that into real-time coaching behavior. Now you can track and then, and coach people in real time. So that's another piece of differentiator I think that I want to call out.
Absolutely. Sounds great. I would love somebody to be sitting by me at all times and just tell me how not to put my foot in my mouth throughout my daily life. So hopefully Cresta will be able to help me soon in that regard. But I also
one quick thing. Ping, I was laughing as you were giving the answer because you dropped a little bit of a news bomb.
I wasn't going to reveal. Yeah.
CX Foundation listeners, you heard it here first. We're dropping real-time translation in the future, but it's going to be a game changer. I'm excited for you all to hear more about it. More to come on that front. But Ping, you dropped a little bit of a news bomb.
Sorry, I've been dropping that all day today.
Well, thank you so much for trusting us with that information and sharing that with us. And I think that's such a good point and such a great way to really improve the customer experience, because a lot of people that speak different languages, they call in and they are already expecting, my English is not that strong. This is going to be a complete mess. Please don't let me have to read off numbers. Numbers are the worst. So immediately you put the customer at ease and you're meeting them where they're at. And you're not asking the customer to conform to your business standards. So I think if Cresta clearly helps facilitate that, then that's a complete game changer for the customer experience and what a move towards customer loyalty as well.
Yeah, thank you. I just feel like that example, that capability really highlights the way we think about agent assist, why it's so different. Our way of thinking about agent assist different from what's traditionally known as agent assist.
Right.
So what we really think about is augmenting every aspect of human input and output and make them superhumans.
Wonderful. And we spoke about a bit about the Cresta's AI Analyst, and something that I preach a lot about or speak a lot about in webinars is finding the modern CX KPIs for the AI era, I guess we would like to call it, in contact center specifically, because a lot of contact centers are still applying yesterday's metrics to today's tools, and they're just not relevant anymore. I mean, these old school KPIs didn't even know that AI really existed and had no way to measure it. And it seems like Cresta's AI Analyst really helps customers pinpoint which data points actually matter and which ones are just, we could call them feel-good metrics. I have a high customer satisfaction score. Maybe, but all your customers are leaving you and your loyalty score is low. So don't be seduced by the numbers that you want to see. So I'm wondering if you could speak in particular about how Cresta's AI Analyst distills all that information and makes it digestible for call center managers and supervisors who, as you've mentioned, are already completely overbooked and overwhelmed.
Yeah, so the thing we think about AI Analyst, one thing to add, to correct a little bit, is that AI Analyst is the deep research AI agent for a contact center. So deep research is a capability that pioneered by OpenAI in ChatGPT, that you can ask a very deep question, and then the AI agent will go to the web and open web, collect information, do dynamically research, and distill that into a research report for you. And then these traditionally will maybe cost a lot of money and only available to a few fraction of the population, and now it's available to everyone, right? And what we think about is we really want to bring that capability into contact centers. Historically, we think contact center interactions are really gold mine of information, the customer feedback that they call in to tell you what they actually really think about your business, and without actually waiting for a survey, right? So these are just so much information, the treasure trove of information that waiting to be unlocked. And it's not just call, but also emails and digital channel and all these interactions. Now they all stay at the Cresta platform. And what we think about, why don't we take the deep research capability and apply that on that treasure trove of data that's traditionally hard to get, by the way, if you're using on-premise call center, and those calls, they may not even readily available. So AI Analyst, what it does is that you can ask any questions about any products or any particular aspect, in the CX, and then we are going to go out and to sample your contact center conversations, and then provide that same deep research report to you as if a consumer-facing, those AI agent would do, right? And that can include any type of issues. And we have customers that they have maybe a lot of calls that come in about their safety measures, and what they do, they go to Cresta and to ask those questions, and then they get the report immediately. And traditionally, it will take them probably weeks for people to manually listen to those calls. Now you can get that in a few minutes.
What we at Cresta will provide is a predictive outcome to the conversation. For CSAT, we give a predictive CSAT on all of your conversations. And what folks will usually do is say, okay, where is my CSAT awesome and where is my predictive CSAT maybe not as great? And what topics are actually coming up in those conversations? Where are there issues in either the customer experience, my contact center, or maybe it's product, or maybe it's operations, right? We see product and operations people start to really gravitate towards Cresta insights and Cresta information. We call it conversation intelligence. And then you kind of wrap it all in a bow once you've understood, okay, here are some of the topics of which people are calling in a little bit frustrated. Then you can go into AI Analyst, as Ping called out, and start to ask whatever questions you want. And so sometimes people, say there was a financial services company I was talking to about last week. They were in our office, and we were going through AI Analyst, and we were showing them like, hey, people are maybe a little bit frustrated about the doc upload process that you have in your environment. And so they were like, oh, can we ask a question about that? And we were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then we went in AI Analyst. We were like, what are the frustrating parts of the document upload process that we found looking at predictive CSAT, then looking at the topic, and then we can ask very specific questions or even follow-up questions on top of those initial questions in AI Analyst.
That sounds fabulous, because I know a lot of people in the contact center space in particular are terrified about the death of the customer survey, and they feel like, our customers just aren't giving us feedback like they used to. So it sounds like this predictive CSAT is really going to fill a lot of those gaps and kind of quell those anxieties for them. So job well done. Very excited to see that in action. I just want to switch to the broader category of AI adoption, something that is on everyone's mind in the contact center space and elsewhere these days. What do you think, from Cresta's experience, is the biggest misconception about the AI adoption and implementation process? What is something that you hear all the time that just makes you go, God, that's not true, and these people clearly have no on-the-ground experience in a contact center, if you have anything?
Yeah, from my perspective, 2 years ago, there are a lot of people ask me after they see GPT-4, they will say that, contact center agents will disappear in 2 years. And let's stop building agent assist, and let's stop building anything that has to do with human agents, because they're gone. And, I feel very strongly that 2 years later, we'll still have human agents. And I feel like there's a lot of hype around job displacement, as I mentioned, in the short term. And that transformation will probably take way longer. And then I'm not even sure in the final state where, how many human agents will be in the contact center. And one thought exercise I like to do is that, let's say today, 100%, there's no human agents today. Right, and then let's say AI taking over all these conversations, what will the consumers feel? Right, what will the consumer feel? And I firmly believe there are a lot of interactions that have a lot of high emotion value, and the consumer will actually prefer to talk to a human. And then now the question is, how your business differentiated? If that everyone that's you cannot even contact customer support humans, and everyone's talking to agent. Probably, I think a luxury experience for your business to differentiate is that we provide expert level human agents, and for those high emotion value interactions, right? And isn't it? I feel like that's probably the case, and so that's why I feel like there's a little overhype and in the short term on the job displacement, especially 2 years ago. And then the reality turned out 2 years later. I mean,
we're still here.
Yeah, we're still here. I think one thing probably as interesting to what's overhyped is probably what's underhyped.
That was my next question. Perfect segue. Okay. Perfect segue.
I do think that it's really, let's talk about what AI can introduce new experience that's not possible today to customer experience. For example, I think the future of really AI transformed contact center will be a lot more proactive. And then if there's an issue, it will realize either it's a website issue or it's issue that as long as the digitally it can be connected, it will do outbounds. It will reach out to you either in your favorite channel and with all the context. right? And wouldn't that be cool? I don't think that has been talked about as much. I do think that that's really AI can do because, again, today, even if you want to do that, you may not have enough staffing. Now the AI agent can really bring that infinite staffing to you. So that's number one. And then number two, I feel like when we think about AI agents or AI in general, we try to compare that to humans. But the reality is they are not human intelligence. They're very different. They're good at certain things that humans not really good at. For example, analyzing 10,000 calls in a few minutes, right? But they are not really as good at humans in other things that humans feel very easy to do, right? So that in that regard, I do think that's, what I'm really passionate about is that AI will enable kind of interaction that's multimodal. How about you can talk to the website for the first time? So the website today, it's already evolved. A lot of Fortune 500 websites probably been around for decades. That's just accumulate a lot of complexity, especially if your intent is long tail and it's hard to find them, right? And then, by the way, graphic user interface is really powerful to present a lot of information. If you already know what you want, but conversation is a lot faster. What if you can tell your website, I want to do X, Y, Z in a very long sentence, and the website moves by itself, right? What if you can speak to any application, United Airlines application, and say that I want to book a trip, and from this to this, and then these are my priorities. And this, I do think that's underhyped. These are new experience that the AI agent will just go away and will get it done, and then send you a notification once it's done. So these are the things that we feel it's multimodal. It can communicate back with images or with websites or app responses, but can take conversation, can take speech input to the app level or at the website level. These are the things that I feel like I'm personally very excited about, and I think that's really underhyped.
Awesome. Do you have anything underhyped?
Yeah, one quick add is I think that it's funny to say this out loud, but it's the plumbing that I think is like underhyped. And what do I mean by that? I think that there's a lot of hype around model performance and that getting really like phenomenally better at a really, really rapid pace. The voice quality coming out of text-to-speech models is going to improve really, really fast. But I think oftentimes overlooked when trying to implement AI into the contact center is all of kind of like the surrounding infrastructure that sits on top of the underlying LLMs, right? And we talked about some of those things today, but it's things like what we call Opera, which is our no-code engine to be able to set things like, hey, I want to set a behavioral guidance or a hint when this exact moment in a conversation comes up, or I want this workflow to happen. I want it to ping the supervisor in Teams when this thing comes up because there needs to be an escalation, right? That no-code platform that we've built sits on top of the kind of model layer that's really important plumbing for an AI platform provider like a Cresta to have and give to their customers. So more hype for like the plumbing and the things that surround like the underlying large language models or small language models as well.
It's actually remind me of what Jeff Bezos says. It's very interesting to think about what will change over the next 10 years. Obviously, model is improving at a speed that just beat a lot of people's expectations. But it's underhyped to think about what will not change, right? And what may not change as the model gets better, or will not change at the speed at the model gets better. I do think that there are a lot of those things in contact center transformation that they were just not getting easier if the model gets better. There are tons of things that need to happen, not just the model layer improvement, anything to do with how you document your knowledge base and how do you make sure that all these systems are connected and all these toolings that traditionally does not have APIs, and how do you make sure that they can connect to AI. So all these little pieces, I do not think that they will get any easier as the model gets better. So that's where we're focusing a lot of our effort on to meet the customer where they are to really deliver AI impact to them.
I would, especially after this interview, have to agree. So Thank you for watching, everyone at home. And once again, we would love to thank Russell Banzon, who is the CMO of Cresta, and of course, Ping Wu, the CEO of Cresta. And I'm Katherine from the CX Foundation. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button because, as you just heard, we drop bombshells and hints before anybody else does, and this interview is no exception. So if you want to stay in the know about all things AI, CX, and contact centers, click that subscribe button. Thank you all so much, gentlemen, for being here, and have a safe trip to wherever the journey of contact center automation takes you next.
Awesome. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Great.
Good
You
stuff.
nailed great. Y'all were so amazing.
That was awesome.